Chapter 1681, Progress. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios inside the sovereign immortal aperture. Mini-central continent. Fang Yuan's time path clone was slowly flying in the air as he planted the last flower bud. The terrain here had already been modified by him into a marshland that was extremely fertile. A large amount of high-quality silt was spread here. There was also a knee-deep, clear river above the layer of silt. The time path clone patted his hand and flew to the sky after giving a last glance at the flower bud. Standing on a high altitude, the man-made marshland entered his sight. This marshland was vast. Fang Yuan's time path clone was unable to take in the whole marshland in his sight that a flower bud, the size of a house, could be seen every few kilometers. These flower buds had quite an origin. They were the buds of a desolate plant, extreme marsh flower. Fang Yuan had obtained a small portion of the extreme marsh flowers in the blue dragon whale's immortal aperture, while the rest were bought from treasure yellow heaven. After taking in the view, Fang Yuan's time path clone breathed in deeply and activated Summer Gu. Summer Gu came from Southern Border's rank 8, Gu, Immortal Xiacha, and was also at rank 8. Fang Yuan's time path clone was only at rank 6 and would not be able to use Summer Gu by just himself. However, Fang Yuan's main body had white lychee immortal essence which he gave to his clone along with Summer Gu. By lending his clone the necessary tools, Fang Yuan's time path clone could utilize almost all the immortal goo of his main body. Summer Gu's activation was followed by other supplementary goo worms which activated an immortal killer move. Xiacha had developed a set of time path killer moves to manage the immortal aperture: spring plowing, summer hoeing, autumn harvest, and winter storage. The killer move which Fang Yuan's time path clone activated was not one of them, but was modified from summer hoeing. It was used specially to raise extreme marsh flowers. Extreme marsh flowers bloomed at the height of summer and bore fruit in spring. Fang Yuan's time path attainment was at quasi-supreme grandmaster. It was at the peak of the world. Along with the light of wisdom, it was simple for him to modify time path killer moves. Following the continuous activation of the killer move, all the surroundings entered the height of summer. Light rays became brighter, the temperature increased rapidly, and the air became increasingly dry. The peak of summer had arrived. The extremely vigorous extreme marsh flowers felt all these and began to absorb nutrition from the water and soil, growing at a visible rate and started to slowly bloom. Every extreme marsh flower was huge and looked like a trumpet with its petals connected. They were primarily white with a few parts bearing slight hints of pink. The knee-deep water was already emptying. The marshy soil had also become drier. The fertility of the soil was being expended intensely. Fang Yuan's time path clone looked calm. This was within his expectations. Cultivation methods of extreme marsh flowers were mentioned in detail in both Red Lotus True Inheritance and Shadow Sects True Inheritance. All these changes were within Fang Yuan's arrangements. Soon, strands of white mist started rising slowly from the pistil of the extreme marsh flowers. These mist gradually spread and covered a large area. Fang Yuan's time path clone stopped the killer move. The air immediately became very moist. The mist nurtured the soil, gradually transforming this man-made marshland. Let's name this marshland flower Mist Extreme Marsh. The first step is finished. Fang Yuan's time path clone observed with joy. It won't be an issue to feed Regret Gu with this scale of extreme marsh flower mist. Rank 8 Regret Gu's appetite was huge. Its food was the mist produced by extreme marsh flowers. The problem was that this mist needed to be fresh, so it was not practical or reliable to purchase them from outside. When the mist condenses to a certain extent and forms a layer of water on the ground, I can then plant water vegetation as well as bring in small life forms like ducks and flying fish. Then, I will continue to expand the scale of extreme marsh flowers. When Regret Gu becomes hungry, the accumulated extreme marsh flower mist will be enough to fill it. The feeding of rank 8 Immortal Gu often required a huge project. With this area of extreme marsh flowers, the sovereign immortal aperture's development is now at 18%. Currently, I have greatly slowed down the rate of time of the immortal aperture, so the production of various resources and white lychee immortal essence has fallen. Fang Yuan pondered inwardly. This time, he did not use time path immortal moves to slow down his immortal aperture's rate of time. Instead, he manipulated the year essence pool, which was much more convenient. It did not expend immortal essence and also did not have some disadvantages of time path killer moves. Fang Yuan could adjust his immortal aperture's rate of time whenever he wanted. Although I need to accumulate immortal essence, I cannot blindly quicken the time, or else the tribulations will come quickly as well. Currently, Fang Yuan was already at rank 8, but his battle strength had not increased by a lot. Previously, he had exposed almost all his trump cards when he faced Heavenly Court's ambush in River of Time, so it was not suitable for him to undergo tribulation at this time. Once he placed his immortal aperture to undergo tribulation, Fang Yuan would become a fixed target. Because he would have to open his immortal aperture, which would be sensed by Heaven's will, Heavenly Court and other forces could easily discover his location and besiege him. The rate of time has been slowed down, but I can still manage my immortal aperture, increasing the foundation of my immortal aperture and expanding my immortal aperture origin core, thus producing even more white lychee immortal essence. The better the immortal aperture's management, the more immortal essence would be produced. A long time ago, Fang Yuan managed his immortal aperture to feed his immortal goo. Later, he managed the immortal aperture to increase the production and earn immortal essence stones, as well as cultivation resources. Currently, his target was to accumulate white lychee immortal essence. Purely refining immortal essence stones to white lychee immortal essence had too low of an efficiency. 10,000 immortal essence stones were required to turn into one bead of white lychee immortal essence. Fang Yuan's immortal aperture could produce 100 white lychee immortal essence every year. In terms of the outside world's time, that was over half a month. Time passed as Fang Yuan continued to cultivate in seclusion. It was now summer in the 5 regions. Although there were no traces of Fang Yuan, the whole goo immortal world of the 5 regions was in an excited state. Whether it be righteous path, demonic path, or lone immortals, they were all hectic. The reason for this situation were the tremors in 5 regions' earth veins. New earth trenches appeared constantly. They first appeared in southern border, but this situation was happening frequently throughout the other 4 regions as well. Rumble, dust, and soil. Rose. He fell down on the ground in exhaustion. He was panting and his face was pale as he looked at the enormous ravine in front of him. When the earth vein shook, he and other goo masters began to run wildly. This was an extremely thrilling escape. There were a few times when He was able to keep his life only because of his good luck. He had almost fallen in, but during the crucial moment, he was able to exert more strength than usual and was able to jump towards the precipice. Since when did earthquakes occur here? That was dangerous. I almost lost my life here. He stood up only after a long while, but his breathing was still rough. He looked at the ravine and saw only darkness. Rough wind blew in the ravine as dust and soil had yet to dissipate. Every area of central continent seems to be experiencing earthquakes during this time period, creating ravines like this. Even a mortal like he felt such a violent change in the world. What is that? A wild immortal goose slowly flew out of the dust and smoked. An injured wild immortal goose flew with difficulty, swaying left and right before it was finally exhausted and fell beside Yi's feet. Yi was dumbfounded. 3 Heavenly Court. Fairy Ziwei gave a cry as her whole body let out dazzling purple light. Following the light, the whole Heavenly Court actually shook slightly. An incomparably enormous formless force poured into the large immortal formation. The immortal formation rumbled loudly as it started grinding down on Spectral Soul, who was locked up at the center. Spectral Soul resisted with all his might, but was unable to defend. His deepest memories were being extracted. All right, I finally obtained the mysteries of the pure dream reality seeker physique. Fairy Ziwei was haggard and pale, but her expression was of excitement. She had been working extremely hard these last days. On one hand, she was dealing with earth vein tremors which were bringing forth unexpected situations all over Central Continent. On the other hand, she was strengthening her efforts on dealing with Spectral Soul. She had put in great efforts to obtain Shadow Sect's Dream Path research results as soon as possible, activating the whole of Heavenly Court's might in empowering the immortal formation. Hard work paid off. Fairy Ziwei finally obtained a breakthrough. In the blink of an eye, it was the height of summer. Sunlight was scorching, but it was not as fiery as the fire in Gu immortals' hearts. Earth vein tremors showed no signs of stopping or reducing. Instead, they became more intense. Immortal materials, wild immortal Gu, and all kinds of cultivation resources appeared constantly, creating a festive period in all 5 regions. Within the 5 Xiang's grotto heaven, Fang Yuan's laughter suddenly echoed. I have finally obtained full grasp of the killer move heaven form. Beside Fang Yuan was the rank 9 killer move in the form of a white crane. It was standing obediently and quietly, following Fang Yuan's orders. Who could have thought that heaven form's effect is actually this? With it, my cultivation might be able to progress rapidly. The issue of calamities and tribulations can also be resolved. Fang Yuan stroked the white crane's feathers with bright eyes. This heaven form killer move came at the perfect time. Chapter 1682. Searching for Grotto Heavens. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' immemorial white heaven, an exquisite, pure white crane was flying around Fang Yuan while letting out melodious cry. Fang Yuan could command this white crane with his thoughts, and it was as easy and simple as moving his hand. I can finally use this rank 9 killer move. Fang Yuan was endlessly moved as he said softly, "Go." White crane flapped its large wings and nimbly flew ahead, but before it reached far, it started circling around a part of the sky while emitting cries constantly. Fang Yuan's lips curled up as he received a series of information from the white crane that showed the inner scenes of the grotto heaven of the 5 Xiangs. Rank 9 killer move heaven form was not an offensive or a defensive killer move, but an investigative type. Its detection target was everything that existed in immemorial white heaven. Its detection range was extremely wide, far surpassing Fang Yuan's limits. Thus it would be extremely helpful to Fang Yuan in plundering all kinds of natural resources in immemorial white heaven. Its detection ability was also extremely strong. How strong? It could discover hidden grotto heavens. Any grotto heaven, as long as they were in immemorial white heaven, would be detected by heaven form even if they did not open their immortal aperture entrance. Once the white crane was nearby, it could gather information about the inner scenes of the immortal aperture. Naturally, its detection range towards grotto heavens was far smaller than ordinary targets. It had another advantage. It did not use any immortal essence during the whole detection process. The rank 9 immortal move heaven form originated from thieving heaven demon venerable. It was truly extraordinary. It was like the detection was the innate ability of the white crane. But if I want to forcibly intrude into a grotto heaven, I need to use immortal essence. Fang Yuan's lips curled up as he slowly transferred rank 8 white lychee immortal essence. With the addition of immortal essence, heaven form's whole white crane body began to emit soft and gentle light. Fang Yuan slowly flew closer, letting the soft light cover him at the same time. A hazy white light appeared inside 5 Xiang's grotto heaven. Fang Yuan followed the white light, and several breaths later, he was inside 5 Xiang's grotto heaven. The whole process faced no obstruction, although 5 Xiang's grotto heaven was already controlled by Fang Yuan. At this moment, he had successfully entered the grotto heaven just by relying on heaven form. Quite a high immortal essence expenditure, but thinking about it, I am a rank 8 Gu immortal while the killer move is at rank 9 level. Spending this much white lychee immortal essence cannot be considered a flaw. Although there is some white light, the entire process is quiet. Not bad, not bad. Fang Yuan nodded, satisfied with the result of this trial performance that it was extremely difficult to charge into a blessed land or grotto heaven without proper preparations. For example, one could refer to the time Immortal Crane sect invaded Hu Immortal Blessed Land or when Heavenly Lord Baizu attacked He Fan Grotto Heaven. Their difficulties sufficiently prove the value of heaven form. In the long span of history, how many Gu immortals have appeared? Although it is not easy to become a rank 8, throughout the millions of years, they are absolutely not few in number. When Renzu's children destroyed the other immemorial 7 heavens, only immemorial white heaven and immemorial black heaven remained. After that incident, rank 8 Gu immortals or rank 9 Gu immortals basically only had these 2 choices to place their grotto heavens. Not mentioning rank 9 Gu venerables. When those rank 8 Gu immortals die, Their immortal apertures would often be placed in either immemorial white or black heaven. These grotto heavens would fall down or perish because of the continuous calamities and tribulations, but at the same time, new rank 8 figures would appear. So, there must be a portion of these grotto heavens currently in immemorial black and white heaven. These grotto heavens were great supplements to Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture if he annexed one of them. He could skip calamities and tribulations and thus resolve his greatest hidden threat. Naturally, the precondition was he had to find an immortal aperture grotto heaven and have the ability to annex them at the same time. This grotto heaven must not have devoured any fragment of the immemorial 9 heavens, an immortal aperture grotto heaven that had annexed any 9 heavens fragment would have no more calamities and tribulations, but it would then be filled with heavens which could not be cleansed. Fang Yuan could not annex such grotto heavens, so 5 Xiang's grotto heaven and He Fan grotto heaven were not in his consideration. Although Qi Clan's Qi Si grotto heaven did not annex a 9 heavens fragment and had been relying on the immortal killer move unlimited Qi Si to resist calamities and tribulations, Fang Yuan's Qi path attainment level became the obstruction to annexing it, and it would not be easy to solve this anytime soon at AS for the Dragon Whale grotto heaven. Fang Yuan had considered it, but he was unable to return to the Blue Dragon Whale with fixed immortal travel as it had already moved far away from its previous location. And with Paradise Earth immortal venerables arrangements in the Dragon Whale grotto heaven, even if Fang Yuan had the ability to annex it, he did not dare to make such a move rashly. Comment who was to say Paradise Earth immortal venerable had not arranged some hidden methods in the Dragon Whale grotto heaven that were specially waiting for Fang Yuan. None of the Gu venerables could be underestimated. There are definitely grotto heavens which suit me. Fang Yuan was confident in this. This confidence was not only because he had heaven form, it was also because in the 500 years of his previous life's memories, there had been many grotto heavens which had appeared during the 5 regions' chaotic war and been a part of the vast changes of the new era. Among them, Fang Yuan had the deepest impression of 9 Phantoms grotto heaven. Almost all the Gu immortals of this grotto heaven mainly cultivated phantom path. The entire grotto heaven could turn into phantom form and thus be unaffected by calamities and tribulations. There was also Dao formation grotto heaven. This grotto heaven's Gu immortals were extremely proficient in formation path, with layers of large formations tightly protecting the whole grotto heaven. There was also Holy Deceit grotto heaven. This grotto heaven's origin was even greater. Its original owner had a close relationship with Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable. After he passed away, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable personally made arrangements in Holy Deceit grotto heaven that caused heavens to make wrong judgments about this grotto heaven. The might of many calamities and tribulations were reduced greatly and were passed extremely easily. These grotto heavens were living in seclusion while cultivating Gu immortals. Every grotto heaven contained many Gu immortals. They were all genuine super forces. However, there were very few rank 8 Gu immortals that it was difficult to nurture a rank 8 Gu immortal with just the resources from a grotto-heaven as such. Powerful super forces were all based in the 5 regions which possessed rich and enormous amounts of resources. At the same time, the large population and intense competition between each other hastened the arrival of rank 8 Gu immortals. Summer went and autumn came. The turbulence of earth veins was becoming more frequent and numerous. Gu immortals welcomed this harvesting season. Western Desert, the delicate and beautiful female immortal lightly shot an arrow. The arrow pierced the sky, while leaving behind a trailing arc of light pink, and struck an ancient desolate beast. This ancient desolate beast had been moving rampantly the previous moment, but at the next moment, its whole body let out all kinds of lights as it collapsed to the ground loudly. Strong wind, mixed with yellow sand blue, the entire ancient desolate beast turned into petals and dissipated completely. It is actually her. Gong Clan's second young Miss Gong Wuhua. Let's leave quickly. A group of Western Desert Gu immortals reluctantly looked at the newly created earth trench before retreating cleanly. Southern border. Rumble. Mountain ranges collapsed, causing dust to surge over hundreds of li. The earth quaked as a huge earth trench appeared, devouring the mountain ranges tyrannical Ba Clan's two Gu immortals were looking at this with shock. This is a famous mountain, Sunny Mountain. It was actually destroyed by the earth trench. Such a pity. Bada's gaze shone with cold light. Hee. What's there to pity? The old mountain has collapsed. There will be a new one in the future. Didn't we discover a large amount of new spirit springs in our way? That's true. Earth vein turbulences are not only bringing wild goo and goo materials, they are also giving birth to many spirit springs. Do you think that is all? Bada looked down with no expression, but his face showed great expectation. Experts are popping out one after the other in the goo immortal world. Didn't Western Desert see the rise of Gong Wu Hua recently? Lord Bada, how could that Gong Wu Hua compare to you? Humph, how can you underestimate the heroes of the world? But wait until I advance to rank 8. Gong Wu Hua won't be any threat indeed. Bada said proudly. The other Ba Clan Gu immortal was shocked and joyous. Lord, you are finally advancing to rank 8? I was on guard against various influences before, but now the Southern Alliance is established while the Alliance leader's position is still up in the air. Most crucially, there are countless cultivation resources appearing unceasingly which are enough for me to advance to rank 8. Naturally, there is one main reason. Bada's expression turned solemn. An unprecedented great era is descending, and I don't wish to be swallowed by the tides of this era. Chapter 1683, Venerable Talent. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios chirp, chirp, chirp. A large group of blinking birds that were surrounding a 7-colored cloud were flying around while chirping constantly to warn the invader. Fang Yuan's expression was tranquil, but his gaze carried the trace of a smile. The blinking bird's warning was naturally nothing to him. This species of bird was a desolate beast, but they had low battle strength. They could not cause harm even with such a large scale. Their true power was in speed. Blinking birds were considered the fastest desolate beast. Once their speed erupted, they could escape the sight of a Gu immortal in the blink of an eye, thus having their name. Fang Yuan had concealed his aura and seemed like a mortal. But these blinking birds simply did not attack him. They innately sensed a pressure from the seemingly harmless Fang Yuan. Suddenly, a trace of aura leaked out from Fang Yuan's body. Swoosh! At the next moment, the blinking birds burst forth, disappearing within an instant. The 7-colored cloud that was densely surrounded by the birds was now floating alone. Fang Yuan sighed. He had intended to capture these blinking birds, but these blinking birds had an extremely fast response time, and Fang Yuan was also not highly proficient in concealing his aura. However, it did not matter if they escaped. Even if he subdued the blinking birds, they would not be easy to raise. Their food was the white heaven floating dust that was specific to immemorial white heaven. It was not easy to gather, and a Gu immortal's immortal aperture could not produce them. Fang Yuan slowly flew closer to the 7-colored cloud. I didn't expect to run into a 7-colored cloud soil. Fang Yuan sighed. This thing looked like a cloud, but was actually a kind of soil. Cloud soil the Ayin Langya blessed land. Langya land spirit had condensed a large amount of cloud soil to form cloud cover continent, which always remained afloat in the sky of Langya blessed land. Cloud soil's greatest production area was in the immemorial 9 heavens. Naturally, there were also a small number of resource points producing cloud soil in the 5 regions that a single colored cloud soil was at most an ordinary Gu material. For example, immemorial yellow heavens yellow cloud soil, or immemorial red heavens red cloud soil. In the present era, the most common single-colored cloud soil in the market was white cloud soil, which mostly originated from immemorial white heaven. Immemorial black heaven also had a lot of black cloud soil, but it was very risky as there were many soul beasts in black heaven. Once the cloud soil had 6 colors, it would be a rank 6 level immortal material. The 7-colored cloud soil in front of Fang Yuan was a rank 7 immortal material, and the value of such a large quantity was very high. After inspecting this large patch of 7-colored cloud soil, Fang Yuan discovered there were many bird nests in this soil, and they contained many eggs. These were the blinking bird's eggs. Fang Yuan was not surprised as the behavior of the blinking birds showed that they seemed to be protecting something. In fact, blinking birds were extremely cowardly even though they were desolate beasts. If there was even a slight disturbance, they would immediately fly away with their fastest speed. Fang Yuan could incubate these eggs for blinking birds. Incubating desolate beasts was not easy, but it would not be much of an issue to Fang Yuan. However, Fang Yuan did not want to hatch them. Instead, he wanted to use these eggs as immortal materials to use when refining goo. Blinking birds had quite a strict diet, and it was not easy to raise them. If he were to raise them, he would have to release them to immemorial white heaven from time to time, and this was too troublesome. Fang Yuan had deep pockets and did not care about profits from blinking birds. Ever since he refined the killer move heaven form over a month ago, Fang Yuan had been moving about in immemorial white heaven. On one hand, he was searching for immortal materials in immemorial white heaven. On the other hand, he was refining goo in his sovereign immortal aperture. A month in the outside world was a long time in the sovereign immortal aperture. Fang Yuan had obtained great success in refining goo. Man as before, landscape as before, self-strength, pulling mountain, pulling water, dog shit luck, time luck, and others were already advanced to rank 7. He had changed his original goo refinement plan slightly, advancing luck path immortal goo with priority. Over these days, he had similarly gained great harvests in immemorial white heaven, obtaining many immortal materials. This was due to the effect of these rank 7 luck path immortal goo. Besides advancing ranks through refinement, Fang Yuan was also improving goo refinement techniques. He knew way too many goo recipes and also knew countless goo refinement techniques. His refinement path attainment level was at quasi-supreme grandmaster, but he was lacking in experience, especially in the aspect of refining immortal goo. He did not have a lot of experience at all. Genuine knowledge came from practice. Over this period of time, he had repeatedly advanced the ranks of his immortal goo, from which he discovered many of his problems and remedied all of them. At the same time, he also discovered many more goo refinement techniques that suited him. At present, Fang Yuan had gained a lot of new insight and inspiration on goo refinement. The success rate of his refinement had also increased by a large degree. There were still continuous earth vein turbulences in 5 regions. Goo immortals obtained immortal materials and immortal goo. It was a time of great joy. But after thinking deeply, Fang Yuan still chose to explore immemorial white heaven. If he went to snatch resources of the earth trenches from the 5 regions goo immortals, he would have to show himself and might very likely end up fighting. Each immortal goo's advancement increased Fang Yuan's strength by a little. But the degree of this increase was unable to offset the situation from exposing his trump cards in the river of time. He needed time to quietly absorb these gains. Once an intense battle began, his accumulated rank 8, white lychee immortal essence would be expended intensely. Fighting with goo immortals was much more dangerous than fighting fierce beasts. Although Fang Yuan spent immortal essence when exploring immemorial white heaven, and there were many battles as well, he was relying on heaven form, which had a precise detection ability. If there were beasts that were too troublesome or powerful, he would take a detour. Heaven form's detection range in immemorial white heaven was truly very large, and could even easily discover many concealed beasts and plants. After all, it could even detect hidden grotto heavens. It was natural for it to discover these fierce beasts and plants. The more amazing part was that heaven form did not use even a trace of Fang Yuan's immortal essence. This rank 9 killer move had unquestionable superiority and power. Fang Yuan had already exclaimed praise for it multiple times. Exploring the 5 regions surpassed exploring immemorial white heaven in terms of danger and expenditure, and it was not as good as the latter in terms of benefits. GU materials and immortal materials emerged endlessly from earth trenches. But these things needed goo immortals to arrange them properly before storing them into the immortal aperture. Managing an immortal aperture was not easy. Many resources were interrelated or affected each other. As a result, most of the goo immortals in the 5 regions would sell these immortal materials obtained from earth trenches in treasure yellow heaven. Their immortal apertures had limited space and could not be compared to Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal aperture. Many times, the immortal materials they obtained did not suit their immortal aperture's environment. There was another phenomenon because of the unceasing earth vein turbulences that was treasure yellow heaven's business. More accurately, the transactions between goo immortals had increased explosively. Treasure yellow heaven was dozens of times as bustling than before. 1 If Fang Yuan wanted any immortal materials, He could totally buy them from Treasure Yellow Heaven. But grotto heavens were different. Every grotto heaven already had a complete and harmonious ecosystem. When Fang Yuan annexed them, it would save him a lot of trouble, and there was no need to consider anything. He could even increase the sovereign immortal aperture's size. His cultivation and Tao marks would also increase by a large degree, and calamities and tribulations could even be skipped. The benefits of annexing a grotto heaven were too great. As for the wild immortal goo that occasionally emerged from earth trenches, Fang Yuan was envious, of course, but these wild immortal goo had always been top priority for goo immortals. Fang Yuan felt it was better for him to directly rob others' immortal goo from the grotto heavens, since he had great thief ghost hand. Heavenly Court. The large formation slowly stopped. Fairy Ziwei opened her eyes, which shined with sharp light. She mumbled, "Soul replacement killer move? Such ingenuity." One before leaving, she gave another glance at Spectral Soul, but did not try to make him surrender. Over these days, Fairy Ziwei had been frequently plundering Spectral Soul's memories, seizing his lifetime's cultivation gains. Fairy Ziwei could not help but admire Spectral Soul's shocking talent, and also acknowledge that in the field of Soul Path, even if Heavenly Court had already put in enormous efforts, they still could not match Spectral Soul. Such a pity that Spectral Soul is currently reduced to a prisoner. It really is a tragedy. He is the most destitute among all the venerables. Actually, if he had remained dead, his name would have been left gloriously in history. Now, he cannot even seek death. Thinking of Spectral Soul, who was still stubbornly resisting, Fairy Ziwei once again gritted her teeth hatefully. She was sure Spectral Soul still had important dream path research results. That was lead soul into dream. Although Heavenly Court had already deciphered most of this move, it would still be extremely valuable if Heavenly Court obtained it. Unfortunately, Spectral Soul kept on resisting. Although he could not shoulder the entire Heavenly Court grotto, Heaven's strength, he was extremely crafty. He would leak some minor information and stall for time. The first time Fairy Ziwei used Heavenly Court's strength, Spectral Soul was caught off guard, and the pure dream reality seeker physique's information was stolen. But when he recovered, Spectral Soul adopted the strategy of abandoning less important information to protect the true secrets. He was still resisting firmly. But your actions are in vain. We have the advantage of time. The Refinement Path Convention's preparations are already undergoing. Fate Immortal Goo will be completely restored. At that time, Spectral Soul will fall into Fate's tracks and have no way to escape. The future of the Great Era belongs to our Heavenly Court. Fairy Ziwei thought of Feng Huang. After obtaining the pure dream reality seeker physique's information, Duke Long gave these research results to Feng Huang, which could be considered as his first genuine knowledge imparting. Although these research results were someone else's work. 1, because they needed to use Feng Huang's immortal goo. They needed to deduce suitable immortal killer moves for her, so that they could resolve the dream realm surrounding Dragon Palace. Fairy Ziwei spared no effort in deducing the killer moves, even deducing together with Feng Huang. The beginning. Her and Duke Long's goal had only been to help Feng Huang grow slightly faster. But who could have thought that after the deduction succeeded, Feng Huang even found a method to improve the pure dream reality seeker physique, creating a brand new pure dream reality seeker physique body with none of its previous flaws. It could last indefinitely. 1 inch the talent of a venerable is truly too terrifying. In front of them, even I feel like I am just an ordinary person. Fairy Ziwei sighed mentally. Chapter 1684, Profound Literature, Grotto Heaven. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Immemorial, White Heaven. Fang Yuan was moving forward on an auspicious cloud. Half of his concentration was in the sovereign immortal aperture, and the other half was on guard. If it were before, Fang Yuan could not have split his concentration when refining goo. But his gains were truly huge during this recent period of time that he lacked neither attainment levels nor goo recipes. His only shortcoming had been insufficient hands-on practice. Personally, refining goo helped him grow rapidly in this aspect. His success rate in refinement increased greatly, and so the amount of immortal materials wasted had also decreased by a lot. Refining immortal goo had always been a sinkhole. Besides goo refinement, Fang Yuan was also plundering all kinds of natural resources. From immemorial white heaven. He sold a portion in treasure yellow heaven and bought items he needed for refining goo and managing his immortal aperture. Treasure yellow heaven's business was especially bustling. The turbulence in earth veins created a pressing demand for exchange of goods in the 5 regions goo immortal world. Immortal material transactions in the market were very popular now. Naturally, the most popular business was still time path immortal materials. Heavenly Court did not stint on suppressing Fang Yuan. They would purchase all time path immortal materials even with a high price, showcasing an inexhaustible strength, displaying the robust and terrifying foundation of Heavenly Court. If Heavenly Court found out that Fang Yuan had already obtained one of Red Lotus' true inheritances and possessed large amounts of time path immortal materials, who knew how they would feel? There are still 2 rank 6 immortal goo left. The others have all been advanced to rank 7. Fang Yuan's body suddenly shook. The auspicious cloud suddenly increased in speed. After a while, Fang Yuan saw heaven form. The crane form killer move was continuously circling around an ordinary-looking spot that seemed to just be made of air. It discovered a grotto heaven. Fang Yuan was joyous, using the detection of heaven form. This grotto heaven's inner scenery was constantly transmitted to Fang Yuan's mind. So this grotto heaven is called profound literature grotto heaven. It is actually a rank 8 information path goo immortals immortal aperture. Oh, there is such a large population, and they even have a unique cultivation style. Fang Yuan could not help but feel curious. Profound literature grotto heaven's population was even larger than Langya blessed land's hairy men. Using an initial estimation, there was also a good number of goo immortals. This grotto heaven mainly had information path Dao marks. Thus its environment naturally was suited to produce information path resources. Therefore, the goo masters and goo immortals here mainly cultivated information path and used information path goo worms. Profound literature grotto heaven had already been isolated from the outside world for many years, but because it had annexed an immemorial 9 heavens fragment, its heavenly spirit was muddle-headed. However, the immortal killer move of the original owner of grotto heaven was still effective. This move was called assisting literary talents. It seemed to be effective for as long as the grotto heaven existed, and its effect was extremely unique, as long as a purebred human created or recited outstanding poems or writings of any kind. They would obtain recognition and reward from this grotto heaven. Mortals could sing good poems to attract hope goo from far away and awaken their aperture. Goo masters could create amazing poetry verses to obtain goo worms, or even raise their cultivation directly. It is somewhat of a pity that I cannot annex this grotto heaven. I have quite a lot of poetic masterpieces stored in my mind. Fang Yuan laughed heartily as he transferred his immortal essence into heaven form. Heaven form slowly started to emit light, which moved into profound literature grotto heaven. Fang Yuan flew into the white light to enter the grotto heaven. Such guts! Which vile fiend dares to invade my homeland? A vast and mighty voice resounded from within, speaking with righteousness. Next, an old man in a white robe and resembling a scholar, possessing rank 8 aura, showed up in front of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was still inside the white light and could not make a move. The old man pushed his hand without any hesitation. Countless literary characters manifested immediately and shot forward like a storm. Heaven form did not have any offensive ability. The torrent of characters poured in, and the white light crumbled. Fang Yuan's situation became awkward. He could not advance. He could only take the initiative to retreat. There is actually a rank 8 goo immortal here. Fang Yuan was slightly surprised. According to normal situations, a rank 8 goo immortal would rarely be born inside a grotto heaven because the grotto heaven's resources were not enough to support the emergence of a rank 8 goo immortal. Moreover, this profound literature grotto heaven's heavenly spirit was in a muddle-headed state and could not open the immortal aperture's entrance, so goo immortals could not easily come out. Even if this rank 8 goo immortal had some skills and could secretly come out to immemorial white heaven and plunder immortal materials, the risks were too high. There were many immemorial desolate beasts and immemorial desolate plants in immemorial white heaven, along with all kinds of strange and dangerous areas which could pose threats to even rank 8 goo immortals. This was not a backyard for rank 8 goo immortals. They not only needed luck to gather resources here, they also had to take risks. Let's try another area. Fang Yuan reorganized himself and poured in immortal essence into heaven form for the second time. Heaven form was a rank 9 killer move. It could connect to any grotto heaven. He connected from the sky the first time. Now he chose to enter from underground. However, when he stepped into white light again and tried to sneak into profound literature grotto heaven, that rank 8 Gu immortal appeared timely before him again. You still dare to try again? With me here, you will never succeed. The rank 8 Gu immortal immediately attacked. Fang Yuan was still inside the white light and felt helpless as he was unable to activate any other methods. With no way left, he could only let the white light be destroyed by the enemy while he retreated to the outside world once again. Fang Yuan's expression was unavoidably dark that he pondered. The two areas I chose should be vastly apart from each other, but I was actually detected and obstructed immediately. What defensive method is this? It was not strange that he was detected. After all, profound literature grotto heaven was an information path grotto heaven, and information path was most specialized in detection, gathering intel, and spreading news. However, the rank 8 Gu immortal enemy was able to appear before Fang Yuan promptly. What method was this? Fang Yuan tried a few more times using not only heaven form killer move, but also fixed immortal travel killer move as well, but was still found out and blocked. Fang Yuan required a very short time to pass through the white light, but this short period of time seemed endlessly long under the obstruction of the rank 8 Gu immortal AT. This moment, Fang Yuan experienced what Heavenly Lord Baizu felt when attacking Hei Fan Grotto Heaven. His strength was clearly higher than the opponent, but with the enemy blocking the entrance of the Grotto Heaven, he was not able to enter the Grotto Heaven, and this felt really unpleasant. Profound literature grotto heaven. I will be back. Fang Yuan chose to leave. Anyway, he already knew the position of profound literature grotto-heaven. It had annexed a 9 heavens fragment and could not be moved anymore. While Fang Yuan left with nothing, Duke Long brought Feng Jin Huang to the bottom of the sea somewhere in Eastern Sea. Flood dragons roared, raising undercurrents and raging waves, but were helpless against Duke Long. Everything was tranquil around Duke Long as Feng Jin Huang stood quietly beside him. Duke Long brought Feng Jin Huang further down. Suddenly, there was a layer of ripple in front of Feng Jin Huang, as if they had broken a layer of formless membrane. Her pupils shrunk slightly as she discovered a large palace at the bottom of the sea. Rank 8 Immortal Gu House. Dragon Palace. The whole palace shone with slight orange-gold light and was richly decorated. The pavilions and terraces were all grand and beautiful. However, Dragon Palace was surrounded by a large dream realm. The dream realm was constantly moving, and its movement was quite fast. Dragon Palace was obscured from time to time by the dream realm, enticing the visitors. The dream realm kept on changing and moving, although some gaps appeared occasionally which seemed to let others enter Dragon Palace. Duke Long was extremely cautious and would rather wait than take unnecessary risks. Right now, he already had a method to deal with this dream realm. Immortal Killer Move. Pure Dream Reality Seeker Transformation. He had borrowed Feng Jin Huang's Dream Wings Immortal Gu while the deduction of the Immortal Killer Move was led by Fairy Z Wei. Under the effect of the killer move, a small piece of the dream realm quickly transformed into a human body with closed eyes. This is a pure dream reality seeker physique body. Moreover, it is perfect with no flaws. Duke Long's eyes shone as he carefully sized it up. He had once been harmed by a pure dream reality seeker physique body, thus he was slightly moved. Huang Er, your modification is truly brilliant. From now onwards, this pure dream reality seeker physique can be considered the 11th extreme physique. Duke Long praised. Feng Jin Huang blinked her eyes. Master, to be honest, I was only able to do so by coincidence. Because I created the killer move Shatter Dream previously, this modification was done based on its results. I had only thought of giving it a try, but who could have thought it would truly succeed? Duke Long smiled. No need to be insecure, my good disciple. Do you think your creation of Shatter Dream was a coincidence? This is part of fate's arrangement. It is fate that Feng Jin Huang immediately pouted. Master, can you stop saying things like that? I don't want to hear such words. If everything is fate's arrangement, then what's the point of me doing anything? Duke Long was stunned and wanted to say something, but only gave a long sigh. All right, all right, let's not talk about this now. Now is still too early for you. When the time comes, I believe you will comprehend it. Chapter 1685, Beast Calamity, Grotto Heaven. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios Central Continent, Earth Trench, Roar. A giant desolate beast monkey let out its final roar. It wanted to stand up, but facing the tiny human goo immortal before it, it felt its whole body freezing. This coldness seemed to penetrate the soul itself, even freezing its heated blood. Immortal killer move. Blood turns cold. The attacker was none other than Fang Yuan's brother, Guyu Fangzheng. Congratulations, Fangzheng. You are already able to freely utilize blood turns cold after these few days of use in combat. Zhao Lianyan slowly flew closer and said with a smile that Guyu Fangzheng looked at the frozen giant monkey corpse, the red light in his eyes slowly dissipating. His expression was tranquil as he expressed his gratitude to Zhao Lianyan. I am flattered. It was all thanks to you protecting me from the side over these days. Otherwise, how would I gain such good opportunities to practice my killer move? The turbulence in Central Continent's earth veins was quite frequent, and all the super forces fell into an awkward situation where they did not have enough manpower. To suppress their own internal situation, Immortal Crane Sect had sent Fangzheng out. Naturally, Fangzheng's movement was constantly monitored by Heavenly Court, and as long as there were no mishaps, Heavenly Court was happy to see Fangzheng growing stronger. Fangzheng was saved by Feng Jiugu and returned to Central Continent, receiving the support of Heavenly Court. Not only did he obtain Blood Revenge Immortal Goo, he also obtained Cold Blood Immortal Goo during his Immortal Ascension. Fairy Ziwei had already made proper arrangements, giving Blood Turns Cold and other Immortal Killer moves to Fangzheng. Now, he was already proficient in the killer move Blood Turns Cold and could use it proficiently in battles. Eastern Sea, at a certain area in the depths of the sea, Duke Long and Feng Jinhuang had already been refining the Dream Realm for several days now. The Dream Realm surrounding Dragon Palace was much larger than they thought. Duke Long had used the killer move Pure Dream Reality Seeker transformation to refine dozens of Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique bodies, but new Dream Realms were still spreading out from Dragon Palace to fill the gaps. Pure Dream Reality Seeker transformation was only a rank 6 killer move and had limited might because its core Immortal Goo, Dream Wings, was only at rank 6. Actually, after condensing the first Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique body, Duke Long could borrow this special vessel to move in the Dream Realm freely and enter Dragon Palace. But Duke Long's objective this time was this rank 8 Immortal Goo house. Without eliminating this Dream Realm, he would not be able to safely take this Immortal Goo house. While Duke Long was condensing Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique bodies, Feng Jinhuang was cultivating wholeheartedly. She was mainly researching the Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique body. Sometimes, she would move her soul into a Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique body, and sometimes, she would research in her main body. Shadow Sect's Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique pursued stability so it could not live long. Dream realms are ever-changing. Their special trait is uncertainty. So I walked the path of Shatter Dream and made it more unstable. The result was that under the deduction of Lady Ziwei, double negative turned into positive, obtaining the perfect Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique. Every time Feng Jinhuang thought back to this, she felt she had gotten lucky. Could it be this is the effect of fate? It wants to borrow my efforts to bring forth the perfect Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique. Feng Jinhuang quickly shook her head, getting rid of this thought. She recalled the words of her master, Duke Long. Huang Er, although you have researched the perfect Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique, it is still not enough. You need to research this achievement thoroughly to use it in your cultivation. When you find out how to advance your physique to Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique, it will be the time for your immortal ascension. Gu Immortal, Feng Jinhuang's accumulation was already enough for immortal ascension, but she was always stopped by Duke Long. Now that Duke Long finally relented, Feng Jinhuang was very excited but also in a dilemma. How could she understand Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique thoroughly? Feng Jinhuang was pondering about this issue as Duke Long waited patiently. Am I pushing her too hard? After all, Transforming her own physique into the pure dream reality seeker physique involves the profundities of human path. The legends of Renzu clearly stated the 10 extreme physiques were created by Renzu. These are all human path profundities. Perhaps I can impart my gains when I read the legends of Renzu back then to her. Duke Long was known as the ancestor of the Dragon Man. The birth of the new variant human race, Dragon Man, was brought about by Duke Long alone, and Duke Long's achievement was a result of his comprehension of the legends of Renzu. Although I took Feng Jin Huang as my disciple, I have not taught her anything. She probably cannot meet my requirements, but it is better if I teach her the profundities of Dragon Men. Of course, I still need to warn her that she must not create any Dragon Men. No, according to her nature, she might secretly create them. Huang Er is different from Hong Ting, especially her personality and perception of fate. Sigh, people's hearts have changed since ancient times. This kind of dangerous thinking should be unrelated to Bai Qing. It is probably Feng Jiuji's influence. Duke Long had naturally investigated Feng Jiugu and Fairy Bai Qing. Achoo! Feng Jiugu rubbed his nose. His body was filled with bloody stains. He mumbled, "Who is talking behind my back?" He was in a very miserable state. His robe was mostly torn apart, revealing his robust and muscular chest. Cough, cough. He suddenly coughed up blood. Two Gu immortals who were hidden revealed themselves. They looked at Feng Jiuji's heavily injured appearance, but had joyous expressions. Congratulations, Lord Feng Jiugu, on advancing to rank 8. Feng Jiugu nodded lightly. He felt no excitement towards his rank 8 cultivation. In fact, he could have advanced to rank 8 long ago, but there had never been a suitable opportunity. There were always all kinds of shackles holding him back. After all, he had a family, and was also the most important member of Spirit Affinity House. Rank 8 cultivation level is no big deal. Although I now have White Lychee Immortal Essence, I will need time to accumulate it. I don't have enough funds to advance my core Immortal Gu to rank 8. Even if I have the funds, I will need others to help me refine Gu. Maybe I can rely on Heavenly Court for this. Feng Jiugu thought about his Dao Guardian status, which had a lot of exploitable value. But the crucial thing is the inspiration I got from the legends of Renzu when undergoing the tribulation. Perhaps I can create a song about destiny from this. Heaven and earth has fate. Everything is arranged by it. But after Luck Path was born, there was room for change. Everything and everyone in the world has the chance to shine brilliantly now. Destiny's song will portray this brilliance. It will describe the certainty and uncertainty of heaven and earth, as well as the paths of all life. A period of time passed yet again. Immemorial white heaven. Fang Yuan gazed excitedly at the heaven-form crane, which was flying around in circles. Found it. I have finally found a second grotto heaven. This is Beast Calamity Grotto Heaven. Good. It has not annexed any 9 heavens fragment.